Hello, ladies and gentlemen. You are listening to the Major Pain Podcast, the only podcast crafted to guide men like you on unraveling your uniqueness and transforming the world around you. What's up? What's up, guys? Happy New Year. Long time no see, long time no post, long time no everything, right? Yes, I know, but you know what? I will be sharing a lot that's been happening in the background in another episode. For now, I have something hot that we need to talk about, okay? If you are a lady joining us, feel comfortable to listen as we hope women learn how to build better men through the golden nuggets we will be sharing and learning. Follow this podcast wherever you are listening. Kindly like and subscribe if you see this option on the platform you are engaging with this podcast. Now, let's get into the meat and juice of today's episode. I titled it Unhurried Living, Taking Your Time in a Fast-Paced World. Brothers, you agree with me that a lot has changed from the last episode and now. And there's just a lot of things happening around. And all this while I've been away, I've been really working in the background, but same time pausing and reflecting and taking my time. I'm this very reflecting type of person. I mean, you can tell for sure, you know that already. And there are days I just sit down and I meditate on time. I ask myself, is there time for young men? I see a lot of young men in a rat race, desiring to become a millionaire at the age of 30, getting famous at 25, touring the world at 20 years old, and even having a committed relationship at age 15. Like, seriously? How? This rat race is not just only for the adult, even the kids and teenagers right now are exhibiting these desires. In fact, they say right now, teenagers are no more teenagers. 16 is no more 16. It's like teenagers are trying to live adult lives. The line is now being blurred between those age ranges. And for this podcast, I know my target demography is 18 to 35. I know that age range is really caught up in a lot of things as we would see and explore as we dive deeper in this episode. And also, you might be like, hey, I'm more than 35, but I listen to your podcast. What about us? I hear you and I see you. You also are still caught up with a lot of things, especially the things that you might have done when you were within 18 to 35. Now, it's a time that you can get to change, reflect, and also take a new course or a new path if that's what the invitation is for you. But I want to tell you about you because I see you and I know a couple of the things that you're going through. You might be like, Paul, you really don't know me. You barely know where I'm staying. You barely know my name. But we're brothers, right? I can tell you about you because I'm a man living in this world and I can see all the things happening. I know the struggles we face are very similar. I know you feel burnt out because you're thinking so much, especially lately with everything happening around. The looming recession, the rumors of war, rumors of this, and you're just like super burnt out. And that's really affecting you. It's affecting your mood. You're not thinking clearly. This now has impaired your decision making. You are just finding it hard to make a clear cut decision for your career path, like the skill you want to build, or even the choices you want to make because there are just so many things happening out there that you don't even know what to believe or what not to believe. And this has reduced your creativity. You feel like you are less creative. Surprisingly, because yes, you are spending so much time on social media, you feel like you don't have as much creativity as possible. Like there are so many other talented kids out there, and you are just the dumb one type of, that's how you feel. But of course, that's not true. So this too is making you not feel fully confident in yourself. And now this has led to you not completing certain learning experiences that you have been presented the opportunity to learn. And this is also distracting you from learning. You're feeling like you are not man enough to even show up for yourself, for your family. This has also resulted in missed opportunities because opportunities have shown up, but because you've not prepared yourself, because you've not learned or built that skill, you can tap into that opportunity. Even in the aspect of employment, this has also impacted that area. And I perfectly understand there's a serious employment crisis out there, man. It's crazy. Lack of employment knock off the domino effect of financial burden. So all this things just all jamming up together for a young guy like you. Maybe you 18, maybe you 20, maybe you 23, or you even 30. And you see each of this timestamp of your life has a meaning and is very crucial to you. Did I get it right? Is that how you feel? Let me know in the comment section. I'm really curious to know if I described your feelings. I know it might seem like everything I've said is all doom and gloom and we lose sight of the big picture of life. This can also make us lose understanding of the meaning of time. I want to point us to a particular direction that is solid. It's a solid direction. It's a solid truth. And it's in the Bible. It's in Ecclesiastes chapter 3. If you are a Christian, you might know this verse, but if you are not, I invite you, let's explore the scripture together. Ecclesiastes was written by King Solomon. I don't know if you've heard of Solomon, the wisest man that ever lived. So he wrote Ecclesiastes, and we'll be reading chapter 3, verses 1 to 8. It says, "To everyone there is a season and a time to every purpose under the heaven, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to pluck up that which is planted, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to break down and a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to cast away stones and a time to gather stones, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to get and a time to lose, a time to keep and a time to cast away, a time to rend and a time to sow, a time to keep silence and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time of war and a time of peace." Now, these 8 verses I've read, I just want you to ask yourself what stood out for you. What verse is speaking to the exact time that you feel like you are in? For me, I see in verse 7 it says a time to rend and a time to sow, a time to keep silence and a time to speak. For me, that was my last year's season, was my silent season. Hence why you guys don't really hear much from me. I just felt like I needed that time to take a step backwards and reflect and learn and grow and also work on myself because I got promoted into a management position and now I have other people that I'm looking after. It's not just myself now, but it's my team. And I realized that, yeah, there's just a lot I have to learn and process. And that was just my season. It was my time to keep quiet. So I wasn't doing much posting. Of course, I was still on social media, just looking. And then I was also still brainstorming in the background. How do I want to show up when I come back and speak on the podcast and all that? And honestly, you would notice that even my demeanor, the way I'm speaking and the way I'm just doing everything is just a little bit different right now. You might notice that. If we want to take it further, how about we ask ourselves, what about a time to find yourself? I would say I found myself at the age of 29. thereabout, that was when a lot of things started making sense. As in the puzzle just started coming together, and I'm just like, wow, wow, yo, really? For real? Like there was just this whole aha moment all the time. And yeah, like it was so beautiful just to realize that, yeah, like all the things I've been gathering for the past 29 years of my life, it's as though I just started living again. We're about a time to know yourself. And this, I'm speaking in regards to knowing your habits, your patterns. Are you a morning person? Are you a night person? What are your likes? What are your dislikes? How do you like to show up? How do you not like to show up? How do you like to be spoken to? Now, you might feel like you know all those things right now if you're maybe 20 or 25, but I can assure you, just give yourself a few more years, you will realize that, oh my God, I never knew myself to this level. And that's the beautiful thing about time. And that's why we need to pause and take time in knowing ourselves. To be frank with you, it was, I think, last year that I got to realize fully I'm a morning person. That if I don't wake up early in the morning to do stuff for myself, and when I mean stuff is either I'm studying, I do my morning devotion, I get to do exercise, like go to the gym, I just notice my day is not complete. And if I'm to wake up late, I would want to compensate and make up for those hours I've lost. And that just now rub off into the day, and it doesn't make my day go very well. And if I'm to even push, say, gym into the evening, it just still doesn't work out well. I don't just feel good. That's just who I am, and that's major pain. And I've explained this to my wife, and it's just so interesting because she's a night person. When she wakes up in the morning, she's just like, don't just disturb me. Why me? I'm like, I've been to Mars, I'm back from the moon. But at night, she wants to go to Mars and moon and all that, and then my energy is completely depleted, right? So you can see it's very interesting knowing yourself, and that allows you to pace yourself. So for me, there are certain projects I can't even take on, or certain things I can't take on, especially if it's in the evening. There are just some tasks I'm just like, nah, I can't, or I just push it to the next day. That's because I have known myself. And I really encourage you to know yourself. There's a time to learn a skill. A time will come that you will have to implement those skills. So one skill you guys would know I have is the digital marketing skill, which I didn't just start today. I started like about 15 years ago. And that I have been building on it from time to time. You need time to build skill. Forget all this quick money, fast money, YouTubers and podcasters and all that. Trust me, if you are to learn certain skills that you are fully invested in, it's yours to keep. And not only would that be yours to keep forever, you will keep scaling on that particular skill level. And those skill levels start changing shape and form depending on the industry you're in and your age as you continue to advance. So it's so interesting that things like coaching, I took a coaching certification about 5 years ago or 4 years ago, thereabout. I did digital marketing certificate 2 years ago, but that was like the first formal digital marketing certificate I had from an institution. The rest has been like mini courses or self-taught and all that. And then leadership, now I'm having that hardcore hands-on moment to practice leadership. But before I got onboarded as an assistant supervisor, I have been on a leadership journey too, just taking those courses, attending those seminars. I attend the Global Leadership Summit. I've been binging on Craig Groeschel's podcast. Like I've just been learning. If you know me, you know pretty much that each year doesn't go by without me binging on courses. Like I just devote my entire time on that. And that has really helped. So if you're not learning a skill and if you're not fully pushing hard, pushing yourself hard to develop and grow in that area, when the opportunity comes, you won't be able to function. And now I'm pushing myself to learn project management because I can see I'm fully ready for that. And I've started taking courses on it, and I want to grow and take my the CAP-M, that certified associate project manager. Just start the journey, no matter how small it is. Start now. There's a time to enjoy your youth. I feel like, I said earlier that teenagers these days is like they are trying to live the adult life. What will happen is when you grow older, you would miss your childhood, and you will miss for real, you will miss it. You can't be a child again. You only in that moment one time in a lifetime. So it's good you enjoy that moment and that space and time you are in, because it's a present, it's a gift that God is giving to you. And there's a time to live a good life. I feel like a lot of people are not living a good life. They think they are living a good life, but really they're just living a fraction of what a good life is. And you might wonder, what's a good life? I would say so far I've known a good life is in line with your purpose, it's in line with God's plan for your life. And that's why I would just encourage everyone listening to take time and get closer to God. That's where there's true beauty, true peace, true reassurance. You can never go wrong with Him. And we'll see as we continuously explore in this episode. But how you feeling so far? Everything I'm saying, is it making sense to you? Are you able to see yourself in some of the things I'm saying? And is it inviting you to take certain steps? This is a journey, brother. This is not a sprint, it's a marathon we're running, right? And I'm just here beside you, cheering you on. And I'm saying, yes, we can do this together, man. Let's go, let's go. While I was creating the script for this podcast, I came across a research. It says in 2021, life expectancy for women in Canada was about 84.67 years, while life expectancy at birth for men was about 80.62 years on average. I don't know how many of you know or have realized that women actually live longer than men. Yeah. I mean, globally, yeah, there are some country that even the men might live longer, but generally women live longer than men. And you might wonder why. That's because men are, just look at the military force in all countries, mostly men. I mean, there's no Amazon forest here with Wonder Woman where it's all women. Nah, most men are the ones in military forces. Most men are prone to violence and murder and delinquent behaviors and all that. So it's all men. But now, I mean, I see a rise of women with this whole feminism thing. Lots of women too are coming up in the endangering aspect, but still men will continuously live less than women. Yeah, this particular statistics is for Canada alone. But from what I see, if it's 80.62 years on average, that means a man has about 8 decades of his life. And from 0 to 30 is just 3 decades. And what that 0 to 30 does is that it prepares you for the rest of your life. Something I observed, which is very, very interesting, is that in the Bible, there were certain people who did great things. And those things they didn't get to certain seat of authority until they were 30 years of age. So it's like as though there's something magical about the number 30. And also, I don't know if you've noticed, even when you watch, like back in the days, there are certain movies where the character is clocking 30 and is so nervous and it's like, yo, people used to be scared of even clocking 30. They felt like there was just this curse or craziness that happens when you clock 30 and if you are not fully ready for it, like your life would just turn downward spiral type of thing. So yeah, people used to be really nervous to clock 30. They felt like there was just this huge pressure on them. But a lot has changed right now. I mean, before You see 20 something years old getting married, 20 years getting married, but now we're looking at 40 and they're still single. Like 40 is the new 30 right now. Yeah, like times have really changed. But biblically speaking, it's like 30 is a magical number. I did a research on this and I came across an article that was published in June 13, 2013 on pastoraltheology.com. And the title of the article is there a biblical significance to age 30? Now, in the body of the article, it said Joseph was 30 years old when he became second in command to Pharaoh after being imprisoned as a slave in Egypt. The priest officially entered service at age 30. Saul became a king when he was 30 years old. David became king when he was 30 years old. Ezekiel was called by God as a prophet at age 30. Jesus officially started his ministry at age 30. And guess what? I just clocked 23 on February 3rd, and I got to realize that Jesus died at the age of 33. All my years of Christianhood, I never knew that was the age Christ died. And trust me, and I was just imagining the crazy things Christ had to go through for me. And now I'm at this age, I'm like, yo, what if that type of pain is to be inflicted on me? And it also made me start thinking again that just imagine just a small financial pressure. And some of us feels like there's a nail that's been poked into our eyes or something like that. Or a girl told you, no, I'm sorry, I don't want to date you, I don't want to see your face again. And you feel like your legs were cut off. Meanwhile, Jesus, in flesh and blood, had to go through a lot of horrors for you and I. These characters that I just made mention of, one thing in common about their story is it highlights that there's a process God follows for those he has called. And I hear a lot of people pray, God, use me. God, I just want you to take over. Take over me. Use me for your will. Use me for your purpose. Use me for your everything. And the moment God begins to start that process, that character development, they are like, oh man, I'm done. What is this? You mean I have to go through this season of resisting temptation, not falling for this, discipline myself? Like, man, see, I'm out. I want to pleasure myself all I want. I want to jump on every trend. I want to do everything. I want to live like the word, unknowing that you've been called. And when you are called, your life automatically ought to be different. Do you want to be a man of God? I know there are people listening to this that deep down, your heart is gravitating towards it. I don't know if you've heard about it. There are statistics that says that men are naturally conservative in nature. Men just align towards certain biblical principles, even if it's not a Christian. He just aligns towards it. He just believes that, yeah, I'm the man of the house. I'm a leader. I'm meant to lead. I'm meant to take charge. I'm meant to do certain things that on a normal day are kind of like in line with Christian values and stuff like that. Men just are built naturally to create structures. And speaking of being a man of God, I know the first thing you might have thought of is, oh, I don't want to own a church, Paul. Hey, come on. Yeah, I love God. I want to be closer to God, but I don't want to own a church. No, like being a man of God doesn't mean you have to own a church or you have to have a huge company or build an empire. I feel like those are things that have been misunderstood based on what we've seen current quote unquote men of God do. And we feel like, oh, we need to acquire those things in order for us to preach the gospel. That's not true. Your life as you are should be a living testimony and witness to other people. That is the true gospel. So you can see now that it has set the scale down to a minimum level where you can actually achieve and you can jump on it right now. Speaking of the characteristics and attributes of a man of God, there's this pastor I listen to, Pastor Bert from Aitley Creek, and he does this Iron Works, which is men's only monthly type of conference or workshop teaching precisely. And his February edition, he just talked about this topic, man of God. And my pastor in Nigeria is also doing from Graceville Christian Center. Shout out Pastor T. I love you so much. I've been following him for years. I just can't stop. I love his unique perspective to life, and he's just amazing. He also did a series recently. They are doing the Singles Are Married seminar where they get to focus on topics for singles and topics for married. And I think he just spoke on something about the hallmark of a man of God, something like that. I just find it amazing that these two separate pastors who don't know themselves from anywhere are speaking directly to men. That's because we can see that men are lacking characteristics, values, and they're just lacking in, they're losing. And the more men lose, the more society loses it. So Pastor Bert from Ironworks, he talked about man of God, and he said that a man of God he made mention of 5 attitudes and characteristics, and that's boldness, he's obedient, he's faithful, he's powerful, and he's compassionate. These are hardcore values that I can assure you every man that wants to go far in life needs. All right. How we doing so far? I think it's good we keep having this, speed stops and checking in on one another just to make sure everything is okay. Again, let me know in the comment section how you feeling, what is really standing out for you. You can edit your comments, you can post new comments. Just, bro, let's feel comfortable, all right? Let's just savor this moment together. What we're going to be doing in this next section of the podcast is we are going to explore the timestamp of an ideal man. Now, I put the word ideal in bold and in capital letter because wherever you are in the world, it will vary. Now, I'm not saying this is the timestamp every man has to follow. It's just the ideal timeline of a man, and it's from 0 to 30 that we are looking at, okay? So I want you to feel comfortable, just relax while we go through this timestamp, and then you begin to see for yourself, was it same or similar for you or to you? And you can also check and see, okay, were there areas in your timestamp that you feel like, yeah, man, I see I missed this area. Oh, I see I wasn't opportuned or privileged to get this type of experience and all that. So that's just where we are going to be, what we're going to be focusing on. Okay, brothers, let's do this. So, from 0 to 5 years old, you were born. You entered this world utterly dependent on your caregiver for your basic needs. And that your caregiver could be your parents, biological parents, or it could be someone else, a guardian. So, when you were at this age range, you learned how to crawl, walk, and eventually talk. You developed a close bond with your family. You explored your surroundings and understand values. Pretty much, you sort of started attending daycare or preschool where you got to interact with other children and you learned some basic social skills. Now, let's take it to the next age range, which is your childhood. That's from 6 to 12 years. You start your formal education by attending like primary school. You learn fundamental skills such as reading, writing, and basic mathematics. You began to develop hobbies and interests. You started participating in sports, arts, and other extracurricular activities. Socially, you established friends. You started understanding the dynamics of peer relationships, as well as you started witnessing peer pressure, right? Now we take it further to your adolescent stage, that's 13 to 19, and we can just call this too the teenage stage, right? Where you enter puberty and you are experiencing physical and hormonal changes in your body. You attend middle school and then you transition to high school. You started facing increased academic challenges and you began planning your future. You explored your identity, you formed more independent opinions, and you established a stronger sense of self. You may engage in a romantic relationship at this stage and you experience the emotional ups and downs that come with them. And I can assure you, some people literally just haven't recovered from some of the romantic decisions they made at this time. This stage just altered and changed their entire life for real. And during this period, you also explored your interest and considered potential career paths. So you start thinking, do I want to go to college? Do I want to go to university? What course would I study? And all those things. Also, I still want to remind you that there are some parts of the world that at 19, there are some people are done with university, even at 16, especially like in Nigeria where they have some private institutions. 16 years old done with universities. Like, yo, really? How come? How is that even possible? Yeah. So when in your early adulthood, which is 20 to 25, you typically complete formal education such as college, vocational training, or university. You start your professional career or continue your education in graduate school. You may experience the challenge of finding a job. Come on, this is not even May. This is you literally are experiencing challenge finding a job in 2024. And also, you might witness challenges in building a professional network and establishing financial independence. Like that right now is a huge struggle across the board globally. I mean, except if maybe you're in Qatar or something, because I know there are some countries that are still doing very well financially, and they've just set up systems in place. But I don't know. You tell me, I might be wrong. At this stage, you notice that relationships become more serious. You are also looking for a more serious relationship, and you are considering long-term relationship and commitment that will lead to marriage. Well, why some people at this stage, they are just beginning to play. This is the time they are like, yo, I am down for the play. Because at this time, lots of younger ladies are crushing on them, maybe because they've attained maybe certain type of success, or they're just opportunity to have people, like pushing themselves on them. Some girls pushing themselves on them, on these guys, and these guys are like, yo, when I was younger, I didn't get that opportunity, so now I want to use this my moment to flex, groove. And also these guys are likely to lose sight of the bigger picture, and they will still not get married, maybe have more baby mamas, and their life just get ruined, or maybe they catch STD. It seems like people forget that STD is still existed. That's something that used to boggle my mind while growing up, thinking that, oh my God, what if I catch AIDS and that's the end of my life, right? And I can tell you that, yeah, it's scary, but that's what it does. It scares you not to make the mistake. It's like, say, chopping off your hand or something like that, right? Like, you have to be wise. And these are things that, to be honest, would just make you not make some of those crazy choices. And you push back, you pull yourself back not to fall through the edge that many men can't refrain themselves from falling. Even at the age of 25, you then would notice this personal growth in your life and you start establishing some adult responsibilities. Now, from 26 to 30 years old, which is your late 20s, can I hear some? Ha? Yeah, you continue to develop your career and gain professional experience. You pursue further education or specialized training to enhance your skill. You might start a family at this age, and mind you, like I said, some people in other part of the world, they started raising family at the age of 20 or even younger. But now, yes, at the age of 26 to 30 is kind of like where people are, or even later. You might still pursue your higher education. At this stage, financial stability and long-term planning become more significant concern, and you further refine your identity and priorities, setting the stage for a new phase of your life. Now, what we just did is we just went through 30 years of you. Yeah, I know you might be like, nah, that's not me. Well, we went through 30 years of another gentleman, right? It's interesting to see that just 30 years of your life, you've been learning, growing, developing. And it's just interesting that the other 30 years of your life, that's when you're, say, from 30 to 60, is just another phase entirely. And I'm just amazed how God has designed us that we literally have to go through this first 30 years to onboard all those things that really will set up for success or just set up us up for failure if we don't handle it properly. And also, some people can have the chance to recorrect their life. That's the beautiful thing about time, the beautiful thing about life. Now, I'm not going to sit here and just be very like, oh, no. I really would say that, yes, a lot of people have ended their life even before it began. That's a sad reality. And that's why I feel so sad for a lot of men these days, right? Hence why I'm doing this podcast and targeting this population, because I see that they are the most neglected. That article I made mention about, is there a biblical significance of age 30? There's something I agree in that article. It made mention that God can use anyone at any age. You don't have to be 30 or above 30 for God to use you. I know it's still amazing that some people listening to this podcast who are above 30 might be like, I want God to use me. And of course, God will use you for sure. And when you see the likes of Moses and Abraham, guys who were like in their older years and age in life, and God just transformed them, gave them this massive energy of a youth, and they did awesome and wondrous things, right? I mean, God can use anyone, and He can also use you when you are younger. It's all a matter of what is God's purpose over your life and how you submitting yourself to Him. But when we look at the guys who I made mention of, like Jesus, Joseph, David, these guys, one thing I noticed too is that they had to be broken. If you really want God to use you, you must be broken in order for you to be multiplied, in order for you to be rebuilt. And the invitation about the whole aspect of embracing time is that you get to build a long lasting foundation. I don't know if you are familiar, but one thing I hear, I'm not a builder, but I hear lots of engineers say that the higher you want a building to go, the lower you have to go. Meaning, if a building is to go very high, the foundation has to be very deep. And it's sad that a lot of people want to be wealthy, they want to be this, they want to be that, but they've not built a solid foundation. They've not created systems in place. They've not established good networks. They've not established healthy habits. So, how would that happen? What could happen is, yes, you might build. You might experience certain type of success, but because you've not developed a strong foundation, you will crumble and you will fall hard, and it's going to be super loud. And sad thing is, a lot of people don't want to listen. They don't want to hear this. They don't vote. In fact, they act like as though this doesn't happen, and we see it happening every single day. What attitude can you then use to position yourself in the right path? Because there's a lot of pressure from society, pressure from family, pressure from every single areas. I would say you need to utilize a healthy pressure. Healthy pressure allows you to have compassion for yourself while chasing your goals and ambition. It highlights the time and season of your life. You know when to chase and when to let go. You aren't following the crowd. You are grounded on your purpose. And you just dive in deeper in seeking the face of God, because He's the only one that understands you more than you even know yourself. And He's the only one that can reveal to you who you really are. and what He has called you to do. I can speak later on one spiritual principle I like to say. There's something called divine marketing. That's something I will speak to you about on another day. If you are to have healthy pressure, this is what's gonna enable you to do. You're gonna have great values. Healthy pressure would inspire you to be disciplined. It would motivate you to work hard and think smart. It would encourage you to delay gratification and avoid distraction. Brothers, I just want to encourage you that if you've missed some of these essential items I've talked about, there is still time. I'm not saying you should just relax and not act, hence the word healthy pressure. You need to act, but you need to know that there's still time for you. Find yourself. There's time for you to act. There's time for you to retrace your step. There's time for you to recourse. There's time to repent. And now is the time. This is the season. So I just want us to answer these questions before we end this episode. So far, with everything I've said, I want you to ask yourself, where am I in a hurry? What are my intentions? How have I been wasting my time? And am I pleased with the direction my life is going? I just want you to be very honest. Ask yourself these questions. And my prayer is that God would shine His light upon you. He will be a lamp unto your feet and a light to your path. That you would get to see things the way He sees it. Not just the way you see it, but the way God sees things. I pray that the peace that passes all understanding will dwell in you, and you will be able to be patient. You will be able to keep calm in a fast-paced world, and you won't be distracted. And you will focus on the things that God has put in your hands to do. I pray this over you, brother, and I'm wishing you the best. I'm rooting for you. And just know that you're not alone, okay? You got God, and you got major pain. All right, we've come to the end of this episode. All right, I'll see you in the next episode. Take care, have a nice day, and I'm wishing you the best. Cheers.